Another day, another story. Aita for letting my daughter and her husband move in with me so they won't be homeless? This situation is complicated and I'm at my wit's end. I have two daughters who are civil to each other but don't get along with each other. My eldest is married to Steve while my youngest is engaged to Adam. Steve and Adam are so different they disliked each other the first time they met. Steve works part-time because he treasures family time with my daughter. They spend their time traveling and exploring different parts of the States. He spends freely because he often say he can't take his money with him when he dies. Adam is an executive and for his side business, he owns several dozen properties. He works about 80 hours a week at both jobs because his philosophy is that he wants to make as much money as possible while he's young so that he can retire early. Steve thinks Adam is a corporate shill and basically blames him for everything that's wrong with society. Steve said that Adam is actively keeping people from buying homes and making them dependent on him. Adam thinks Steve is a slacker and have told Steve people like him who does the bare minimum but expects handouts are what's wrong with society. Neither of them are bad and they treat my daughters well. I retired last year due to my health, so Adam built a house for me so that I can live comfortably. I was able to customize everything in the house to fit my taste. Adam owns the house, pays for all of the utilities, and charges me $1 a month for rent. Part of our deal is that no one else can live in the house but me. He was very clear about this. Steve recently lost his job, so he and my eldest are living off of her single income. As you can imagine, they are struggling. My eldest recently called me crying because their savings are almost gone and they can't make next month's rent. She asked if she and Steve could move in with me until he finds another job. I live on a fixed income, so I don't have money to set them up in another apartment. She's my daughter and I couldn't let her be homeless, so I let Steve and her move in. I gave them strict rules and a time limit on when they had to move out. I didn't think my youngest and Adam would find out because they live in another state, but somehow she found out. She called and screamed at me last night for betraying Adam's trust, but I argued that I'm a mother to two daughters and I can't let one be homeless. I told her about the rules and time limit and begged her not to tell Adam. She hung up on me, so I don't know what's going to happen. I know I went back on an agreement, but I had a good reason. Edit. I couldn't add many details in my original post because I was afraid of going over the character limits. Adam pays the taxes and utilities on this house, but because it's the only house he has in this state, he keeps its financials separate from the rest of his properties. Also, he doesn't really have anything to do with the house. Instead, he gave it over to my youngest to take care of, so she handles all of the bills and maintenance and pays them out of an account he set up. She noticed the increased utility cost, which is when she called. We just spoke again and I laid my soul bare to her. I knew I was going back on our agreement, but it was to keep her sister from being homeless. We had a lengthy conversation and in the end, she agreed not to tell Adam. She'll cover the increased utility cost out of her own pocket so he won't notice it. In exchange, her sister and Steve will have 3 months, then we'll have to move out. I originally told them they had 6 months. I'm lucky to have such a compassionate daughter. Thank you for taking the time to read my post. Some of the comments were very hurtful, but some were helpful. You made me realize I should have called my youngest at the start and asked. That would have saved a lot of tears. Comments from users. Aita. I'm sorry, but Adam is doing you a favor by letting you live in this house, and he gave you one rule so he's not taken advantage of, and not only did you break this rule, but you did so by allowing the person who insults Adam to live there. Your daughter and her husband want to live by the values they have, fair enough, but they need to be able to have money to back that up. If by Steve losing his part-time job they are in this much trouble, then they didn't have the money to spend freely and go traveling to begin with. Yeah, you have two daughters, but at the end of the day the person who owns this house has no obligation to house your adult daughter and her husband, and honestly so if you lose your home because of this, then you only have yourself to blame. Another user. Steve should stick to his values and not live in a house built by a corporate shill, no sarcasm. Third user. This. Also, I understand that Op doesn't want to let her daughter be homeless. However, the fact is, Op does not seem to understand that she doesn't have the means to make her daughter not be homeless. The house belongs to Adam and that's that. Aita. That is it for this video, so, what do you think? What would you do when you were in the Op's shoes? Please comment and let me know. Thank you, and having you here was a privilege to me. Please support the channel by subscribing.